Hey, what's up? This is Bryan from Knocked Loose, and you're watching Bloodstock TV.
Are watching Bloodstock TV, obviously, and I am very excited to present to you Bryan from Knocked Loose. How are you, man? It's so nice to have you here.
I'm great. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. We'll just get right into it. There is no denying how much the band has blown up, and quite well deserved as well, but particularly in the last few years, with so many insane moments that are happening pretty much every time you go out on tour with these great shows and this festival run in particular now. Did you ever expect that you'd be hitting this level of success? Was it always the game plan, or?
No, not at all. I feel like the game plan has always been like, what's the logical next step, you know? So yeah. It's kind of always been hard for us to look far into the future just because we're trying to keep up, you know, and we are a band that likes to stay busy, so it's always just like next step, and then like within the last year or two specifically, ever since, you know, lockdown happened and you were kind of just forced to sit with your thoughts, I've been trying to be a lot better about pausing and taking a step back and like looking at the moment that we're a part of and taking it for what it is and appreciating it, because, you know, sometimes things can just happen so fast. But yeah, it's been a really great year. A lot of like reflecting and just like, wow, can't believe we're here.
Yeah,
can't believe we're here at Bloodstock.
Finally.
Yeah.
We've been waiting. But look, it's a gig that you did that grabbed a lot of headlines. You're probably sick to the back teeth talking about it, but Coachella, I've heard you talk about it in various different contexts, but my question to you is, was there any hesitation about that show? Kind of like, fuck man, it's like a wildly different audience. Like, did you debate, kind of said, shall we do it? Or fuck it, let's just do it? And because it was a huge success, in case anybody...
definitely not sick of talking about it. I'm still very, very like grateful that we were a part of it at all, and the fact that it's like gotten this much attention just proves that it was a good choice over and over again. But it was never really a hesitation for us, because we've always been the kind of band that sets out to do things outside of our comfort zone. We never wanted there to be like a hard line of what we would and wouldn't do. We've always tried to blur that line, and we've done a lot on both sides of things, especially within the last couple years. Last year we did our very first tour where we were the only band, and it was all rappers. With like Suicide Boys and Maxo Cream, Ski Mask, the Slump God. So like that was a big step, and when the Coachella thing got brought up, it was just immediately like, yep, let's do it. That's like, it's kind of exactly what we're about, like pushing the boundaries of where the band can exist. And it ended up paying off extremely well, because the show was crazy, like way crazier than we expected. I will say something that I haven't talked much about. We accepted it with no hesitation, but all of us definitely had the conversation of like, could be really bad, you know?
Yeah.
Like with a fest like that, like we are so much the black sheep that like it could just be an empty tent or people just kind of staring at us weird, but that's kind of exciting in a sense, you know? Like if we can change anyone's mind, that's the goal. So like there was definitely nervousness, and our like crew was feeling it too, which was really exciting to watch, because like our manager was there, and there was this like wall dividing backstage in the crowd, and he would pop out and come back and pop out and come back, and he said that it was like empty, and we were just like, it's
when did he say that? Like a timeline? So was this like 10 minutes before you went on?
Probably like, I mean, up until after we were sound checked. Like we sound checked and we went backstage. We started stretching. He was just like, it's empty. Like he wasn't telling us it's empty, but he was.
See it in his eyes.
You could see it, and we were just like, I mean, it is what it is. We'll go in and we'll play it the same regardless. And then like 2 minutes before the set, he goes out and checks, and he comes back, and his eyes are wide, and he's like, it's packed.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. You spoke there just about pushing boundaries, and I mean, especially within the realms of hardcore. Let's just, let's pull it into that for a second. I mean, there has been amazing things that has happened in that genre, from Turnstile, who just turned it upside down. Code Orange, Jesus Peace, Gulch, even, who sadly brought out an amazing album and then decided to fucking give up, or come on, guys. Long Knife as well from Portland, amazing band, Vane, etc. It's really, there's something tremendously new and fresh happening within that whole vibrant hardcore scene. But what I wanted to find out is, like, do you, with the evolution of that, do you find that it may go too far to the point that it loses the true essence of what it kind of was? Because you have these elite people that are so diehard, they're like, fuck that, like, it's not,
I think it just depends on the band, I mean, there's definitely examples of people that start with, like, the very, like, DIY, like, punk ethics, and that changes over time. But with nowadays, I mean, I'm a firm believer in, like, a rising tide raises all ships. Like, I'm rooting for Turnstile. I'm rooting for Tsunami and Scowl and Jesus Peace, all these bands that are doing all these amazing things. Like, I just want to see everybody win. Yeah. And it's amazing every year to see hardcore bands open new doors that, like, no one ever really thought existed. And I think that is extremely important, because then that just helps it grow. And that brings people from outside of hardcore into it, and then you see your local scene is getting bigger. And if your local scene gets bigger, then more bands want to come to your local scene, and then you have, like, a thriving hardcore community in your hometown. And, like, I know what that's like, because I'm from a place that gets skipped a lot when it comes to, like, the mainstream hardcore bands.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it's amazing to watch. I think that people that don't want it to grow are just closed-minded. Nobody started a hardcore band to make a living off of it, but if you have the opportunity to expand what you're doing to bigger audiences, like, why would you deny yourself that?
Yeah, very well said, and I agree with you 100%. So just from laugh tracks to Different Shade of Blue to A Tear in the Fabric of Life, I'm just looking at the timelines here, so 2016, 2019, 2021. Would it be a good assumption right now that there is new music in the works? It's happening, are we close to, like, has anything been recorded or demoed or whatever?
I can't give too much away.
Yes, you can.
We definitely have been writing a lot. We've definitely been staying busy. The only thing that I can really say is, like, we took a lot of this year off. We're the kind of band that just likes to say yes to everything that comes our way, so we stay on the road. And with all of those records, we had to take ourselves off the road so that we could focus on it. So this year we've been doing a lot of one-offs, Coachella, Bonnaroo, and then in between that, just staying busy, working hard. So yeah, we're working hard.
Okay, well, we'll keep our eyes and ears on you guys for any updates on that. One thing leading on from talking about the aspect of touring. I mean, you guys tour a lot. I mean, you're a van. You've been doing that for years. I've seen some of is it like come inside my tour bus type of things where it's like, we live in this fucking thing for 3 months and we eat peanut butter and whatever it is. But bearing that in mind, there's a lot of bands that just want to skip that. And I personally think that is such an important part of the center universe of every band, is being so close, like really fucking going from shithole to shithole, climbing up that ladder, the bonding between each other, and it's almost like you're kind of a brotherhood together.
Yeah.
And do you find that experience is so important that reflects in your music and the way you perform on stage and everything about it.
I think we as individuals are just the kind of people that like to stay on the road, you know, like we still really enjoy the grind of it.
Yeah.
When it started, it was so new and exciting that we just wanted to do it as much as possible, and that just kind of snowballed into what it is today. I think that it is important for bands to play bad shows.
Yeah.
I don't think that you should go out and try to play a bad show, but don't be afraid of playing the place that's a little bit more skipped. Don't be afraid of playing the show that may be a bigger risk for your band as far as what the turnout may be. I think a lot of the times what happens in America is bands start and they're fortunate enough to kind of just bounce around to all the major festivals.
It's big country as well, like there's endless venues.
And the festivals are growing and growing every year. Like you just had Sound and Fury a couple weeks ago in California that's like 5,000 plus people. And like that's awesome. If you're a band that gets that offer, like definitely take it. But like don't be afraid to play like the Ohio, the Nebraska, like because there's a lot of really special pockets of hardcore music in those areas, and those are the kind of places that will really appreciate you coming through. And the more that you come through, I really pride myself in having memories of us playing Lincoln, Nebraska on my 20th birthday to maybe 15 people leaving our show early and going to see 4 Year Strong down the street. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
yeah.
And then all of us getting food after the gig. Like, I can see people at our shows and I'm like, wow, you've been seeing us since we played a house here to nobody. And now it's like this whole thing and you've stuck with us. And like, I feel like people in those areas really appreciate that and they really grow with the band. And I think that that's really important to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Back in when you were saying those house shows, that's obviously when you were a manipulator. Was it one show you were called Manipulator?
No shows, actually.
No shows.
We announced the first show and we were on the flyer as Manipulator, and a band from Ohio reached out and they were like, hey, that's our name. So we just changed
a friend
it.
of yours or something that suggested it.
Me and my friend were just texting back and forth like ideas. And he threw that one our way, and we used it, and it was like trying to rush so that we could get that flyer back out with the new name.
Little did you know that it would have just exploded into
Yeah,
what
I
it
didn't
is
think
today.
that I would be. I mean, this year is the 10-year anniversary of our first show.
Holy shit!
So there's been a lot of reflecting this year. You know?
10 years, man.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. In keeping with trends on the way that you guys you rent out these houses for periods of time to write and just get away from things, is there like there's a cabin in the woods in Tennessee, Joshua Tree, the Lake House in Michigan. Are these places picked for a particular reason, like the geography, or like do you want to be at a lake house because of? Is it just like this would be cool to go here, or is it kind of like I really want to go somewhere that's really stifling and hot, or I want forestry around me, or you know what I mean?
I think the goal, the only consistent goal is seclusion. You know, somewhere we can go without distractions. But then at the same time, like we love hanging out, so it's like nowadays. We all have our own lives. We tour together so much that when we're not on tour, we're not really hanging out. I moved to California. Our guitar player moved to Colorado. We're kind of spread out. So now it's like, let's pick somewhere awesome. Let's get an awesome house and let's just hang out for like 2 weeks and just write music every day.
So it's not linked to the way you write, the environment. You don't link the environment to how you want to be inspired. It's just, let's just pick somewhere awesome.
I think that a cabin in the woods in Tennessee was under the vibe that it was supposed to be spooky. You know, you're like back in a cabin deep in the woods. Kind of. Yeah. Right. But everything else has just been like, when everybody was locked down, I had moved to California, missed the band. I was like, why don't you all come out here? We'll go to Joshua Tree and write. We did that. Our drummer Paxson was like, my family always talks about Upper Peninsula, Michigan being such a beautiful place. So we looked into getting like a lake house, and it was like affordable. So we did that. When they were out in, when we did Coachella's 2 weekends in a row. So that week in between, I was like, you all are going to be just chilling in California. Like, let's get a spot and let's just like work on stuff, you know? So,
it's a great idea.
yeah, I love it. It honestly, it started with A Different Shade of Blue. We were touring so much that we just wouldn't write. And every time we would write, we weren't really stoked on it. We were too distracted. So Will Putney actually said, when you're done with a tour, just come to my studio and just use the studio to write. And that was our first time writing secluded. And we were like, love this. Like, let's do this forever. And now that we're just like fortunate enough to, like, you just get on Airbnb and you find a place that looks secluded. You message them and say, hey, is it cool if we play loud music? And like, normally they're stoked about it. My ultimate dream is like the Swiss Alps or something.
Oh,
like,
yeah?
Up in the mountains, like in Europe, just like no cell phone reception, no Postmates.
Totally off the grid.
Yeah, just totally off the grid.
Yeah.
See if we go crazy a little bit, what happens.
Kind of Shining vibes
Yeah,
there.
yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Well, look, I cannot urge people enough to check out Knock Loose. Fucking fantastic band, doing amazing things, pushing boundaries, and just a great positive attitude as well for heavy underground music, or music in general. And yeah, I just want to wish you the very best of luck with everything you do going forward. And we're so stoked to have you here at Bloodstock, and especially on our sofa today at Bloodstock TV. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for the kind words.
Awesome.